You were just talking about blue light and how it converts into glucose.
Yeah,
this is a mind-blowing moment. Just you started this out with.
I know, man. I can't even believe I'm saying it, because I used to be one of those guys, like hard science, strength conditioning background. If it wasn't a ketogenic, or if it wasn't a carb cycling, or if it's your macros, then it wasn't affecting your body composition. I believe that.
Yeah.
Like food was everything. Right. Supplements were everything. Something you put inside. But what I really didn't understand, bro, is that the implications of, so it all starts with the mammals that basically are our ancestors, genetically speaking, that most of the models for clinical trials are performed on, furry little creatures, mouse or whatever, rat, mice, whatever. And those mammals, like all mammals, share with us a gene called POMC. And POMC is short for pro-opiomelanocortin. So pro-opio, meaning opioids like beta endorphin that you get from the sun, melano, meaning melanin, and then cortin, meaning cortisol. So this gene is responsible for the production of 6 peptides. And 2 peptides from that gene, one of them is called adrenocorticotropin, and adrenocorticotropin converts stress into cortisol, then cortisol into glucose via gluconeogenesis through the liver. The other peptide POMC creates is this stuff called corticotropin-like intermediate peptide. Basically, all that is a peptide that your pancreas produces, like an insulin secretagogue, that produces insulin. So if you've got glucose from stress, from cortisol, and you've got insulin, you got metabolism. All of that came from the last extinction event. The KT event that turned dinosaurs into chickens. Our ancestors, mammals that burrowed under the ground, you think you're having a hard work day. Like, you had to hide from dinosaurs for 40 million years, right? They're under the ground figuring out creative strategies on how to create metabolism, have energy, how to survive in the dark. And basically, when UV light was blocked from that extinction event, food chain died. 70% of all life, plant or mammal or animal, died on the planet. And these creatures had to figure out a way to create energy and metabolism from nothing. And we live in a world today where there's so much abundance. And now blue light has emerged as a phenomena associated with mental disorders, psychiatric disorders, right? Sleep problems, melatonin and endocrine disruption.
And when you say blue light, just so for the average listener out there, you're talking about screens, basically, right?
Basically, yeah. So the light spectrum.
Because we're all staring at screens all day long.
100%. It's all there, and basically the fundamental source of all life, whether it be through vegetative food, through the food chain of photosynthesis, through plants, everything is connected to the sun. I mean, if you eat beef exclusively, or if you're carnivore, you're eating an animal that exclusively gets its metabolism sourced from the sun, because it's eating grass. Right. So when you're talking about blue light, you're talking about one sliver of the full spectrum of sunlight that's particularly addictive because of the bandwidth of that frequency is between, let's say, 5,500 and 6,500 Kelvin, which is the frequency the sun emits, but only for a very, very small part of the day. And there's this Nobel Prize award-winning science called circadian biology. And circadian biology dictates that every day the sun oscillates through its spectrum of light. Early morning light doesn't burn you, right? Because it's infrared. Right. In the middle of the day, you get burnt if you don't have a good tan, because ultraviolet light creates melanin, right? So you get a tan from that midday, but that's also the most stimulating light in terms of producing dopamine, producing awareness. All these machines are all tuned to that narrow bandwidth that grabs your attention.
Is that why, like, when you go and you lay out, like, I don't know about you, but like, if I lay out, like, you're supposed to tan, right? Yeah.
You talking naked, or you talking?
Well, not, but in Miami it's legal and all that, but I don't quite do the butt naked. Sunga, nice little Brazilian sunga, But one of the things that always frustrates me is I can't relax. Like, it's almost like I get even more energy when I'm laying out. Yes. And it's a euphoric energy. It's it feels great. And I saw just recently you posted something. It was cracked me up when you posted yourself versus that
Brian Johnson.
That guy. Yeah. That was a great post.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
But one of the things that it said was 1 to 2 hours of sunlight.
Yeah.
And
I'm wearing it too.
I 100% agree. Now, I will say this. I don't know if I had that much time to get that much sun every day. I wish I did. I mean, if I had, that would be a great job description if we were lifeguards or something. But,
yeah, exactly.
But one of the things that just immediately I recognized was the way I feel when I do have the opportunity to go outside and lay out by the pool or take a beach day or whatever. I actually feel my best. And I think that's why the beach is such a great place. It's also the salt water and just getting in the water in general. But maybe speak a little bit about that, like the impact of sunlight.
Well, so you have these things like, Brian Johnson's a big advocate of big tech, right? He believes that, transhumanism, immortality will be obtained through living in a lab and, exposing yourself to an experiment, to 30 doctors and all this stuff.
Right.
But that contradicts the laws of nature and physics. And I don't think that nature shares Brian's biases about longevity. I think it's clear that there are 5 zones on the planet called blue zones. These blue zones have the highest concentration of centenarians, which are people that live over 100. And when you look at the way these people live, you understand why they live so long. Number one, they're close to the equator. So their solar exposure is very constant. They don't have long winters like if you lived in Sweden. They don't have particularly long summers. It's just baseline, nice and steady, not much range in the oscillation. So good solar exposure. They also live near the ocean. So to your point, so there's something unique about us as humans is we have eccrine sweat glands. No other primate does. And those sweat glands allow us to perspire through our hands and our feet. And what perspiration is predominantly made of is sodium chloride, the same shit that's in the ocean. So when you have a negative ion exchange, people are into grounding, that whole earth thing and all that shit.
Right.
I thought that was stupid hippie shit. I was like, this is just some guy who got high and was like, it feels really good to take my shoes off. I was like, nope, it's actually 100% verifiable physics. The reason why I kind of scoffed and would play it down is because I was coming from that meathead biology place, which my head was in a lab. My head wasn't in nature. And physicists will tell you this, that there's linear optics and non-linear optics. So non-linear optics is the study of things in the cosmos, like in space, in the natural environment, because we're not closed loop systems. We're open loop systems.
Right.
You walk out of here, you're exposed to sunlight. You go up the street and you grab something, there's bacteria. You get some food, get an empanada, that beef may be from Ecuador. You're exposed to things, you're open loop. So this idea of, being in a lab, it's contrary to the laws of physics. And blue zones, I think, prove it conclusively that you're supposed to be in nature. You're supposed to be getting those negative ions, those electrons exchange, not only through, your hands in the water, but through your skin, through melanin. Melanin is a wide-based semiconductor. Black attracts all heat, visual and non-visual. So when ladies like to wear black, leggings when it's cold outside, It's the exact same thing. We produce a sheet of color called pigment, and it's melanin, and that melanin is actually converted to dopamine. It's converted to downstream to all the chemicals that make us feel good, make us creative. It's all light in a different chemical form, basically. So light is the most important thing. In the past 2 years, I've become a fanatic. All my house is, decked out in red lights.
Yeah.
It looks like some crazy freak show in there, but it's
What's funny is, so today, actually, my wife asked me if we could get some red lights for the baby. So she's pregnant.
Yeah.
We're about to have a little girl. Thank you.
Man.
We have a little boy, but we're about to have a little girl, and she's read that if you keep the room red, that it actually helps them, in their mood and everything.
Absolutely.
So it's very interesting. You said that though. Yeah. It's like the red light district at your house. Does it get a little freaky in there sometimes?
Sometimes it might. Because, you don't get that stark kind of disruption. What I have noticed is my sleep is way better. And if I have to turn on the light, I've actually noticed that I could be in a dream and wake up and have to do the business in the bathroom. And then I'll remember the dream. I'm still dreaming.
Really?
And then I go right back to bed, and it's like I pick up right where I left off. Whereas a bright light disrupts, the photoreceptors in your brain because you're just turning on midday light. It's just
That's interesting. That's very
disruptive. Modern living is very disruptive, and I don't think tech has really caught up to that. And I think that's why the new update in iPhones gives you a red screen now.
Really?
Yeah, the new.
I haven't gotten
there's
the new
a new
update.
Paul Saladino talked about that the other day. He did a post on it. But in the future, everything is going to be about light. Even medications. Every single cellular process in your body can be modified, augmented, turned on and off by light frequencies.
So how old are you?
I'm 50.
All right, which you look like you're 38, so amazing.
It, man.
I would love to give us a little day in the life of what's your routine looking like. Yeah.
So I have an 8-month-old. So I have 5 kids. So my most recent download.
I love it.
I have a beautiful little girl. Her name is Jasmine Rose. Jazzy was what I call her. So Jazzy usually is up about 5. She's got a solid circadian rhythm going on. So she's waking me up right before the sunrise. So depending on the morning, if I have time, we watch the sunrise together.
Beautiful.
So I film. I have my tripod set up. I got nice. I zoom right in on the sun when I can see it. I live on the beach in Pompano, so I watch the sunrise with her. I get her in her little walker so she can run around. I make myself some, kind of bulletproof coffee, just organic coffee.
Okay.
And then I have a list of nootropics that I take. I take sometimes bacopa, I take ginkgo, I take maca, mostly adaptogens that I'll take in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I'll have, my grass-fed heavy cream or my coconut oil in my coffee. And that's usually what I'll have until about, let's say, noon, maybe 1. And I've been doing the IF, intermittent fasting, for probably 8-9 years.
Amazing.
And it was the only thing, like when I was on the traditional bodybuilding, 5-6 meals a day, just the inflammation was killing me. It was like I could feel everything, injuries, and then as soon as I started fasting, immediately, boom, all that went away. So I would say I'm not calorie restricted, because when I do eat, I feast. I mean, I'll throw down burgers, I'll throw down whatever I want to eat, a ribeye, a tomahawk, whatever it is. I will eat, ubiquitous amounts of anything. Doesn't matter. I could have carbs. I don't give a shit, know. But I make sure that I'm pretty tight on that window. So I'm usually kitchen's closed around 6. Kitchen's open around 12. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm helping them run a few companies. I have sunglasses that block blue light. So that's BioShield Optics. You can find them on Amazon. We have a nice Amazon store there. Modern humans have a unconscious, perhaps, bias towards nature. Don't like being outside as much, especially city dwellers. Modern ophthalmology and dermatology would tell you the sun causes cancer. So, I did a social experiment the other day. I was walking on the beach and it was only 9 a.m. So it's not like you're getting a lot of UV light. It's more infrared. So I counted 30 people. 27 of them had sunglasses on and Bluetooth in their head. It's like you're getting Bluetooth through your brain, because those two devices, they talk to each other. So they're sending a signal through your brain. And you're blocking out your skin. You're wondering why you're getting burned, right? Because you're getting an incorrect diminished signal into your eyes. Your eyes is what controls the expression of all this stuff. So it's like you're getting this disruption here, right? And you're getting, sun, and your body's like, wait. You're burning because the signal you're getting in your eyes is half.
So are you saying you're better off not wearing sunglasses?
Better off not wearing sunglasses.
Yeah. What about those type of glasses?
These are just for blue light blocking.
Okay.
These are just for if I'm on a laptop, which I was on a laptop with Cam that you met, or if I'm on my phone, absolutely, those are the ones to go to.
But if you're out on the beach, you go no sunglasses.
No sunglasses at all. They attribute all of that to genetics. I'm like, that only tells you part of the story. Mm-hmm. It doesn't tell you the thousands of years where that person was specialized in that environment where they're from to get those attributes.
Right.
Like now they're in a different, like for example, Somalians in the United States have the highest incidence of autism. That's because most of the Somalians live in Minnesota. Do you see the circadian mismatch there? Mm-hmm. Sub-Saharan African people, they're melanated. They're meant to receive a certain amount of sunlight every single day. They never missed a beat for thousands of years.
Wow, and then you
put them in someplace cold. They're getting immunosuppressed, low vitamin D. What do you get? Autism.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, there's a circadian answer for most Neolithic modern diseases out there. Cancer included, atherosclerosis, all of it.
And it's crazy how sunlight could cure most of the things.
Yeah. But when you just think about how there's this big ball of energy out there that we just take for granted every day, no one looks at it unless there's an eclipse in the news.
Right.
It's always there. It's always there.
And then also it's all, all this cancer, skin cancer.
Yeah.
Well, think about when skin cancer really took on. It was after all the sunscreens and after all these lotions that they wanted us to rub all over our bodies. So before then, there was no such thing as skin cancer.
There wasn't such a thing as sunscreen. And it's interesting too, when the largest, so the society that has the largest incidence of skin cancer, I believe, is Australia. And what's interesting about skin cancer is you have light-skinned people that are under high solar exposure and they get melanoma and carcinoma. They get hyperpigmentation. They get brown spots. White people get brown spots when they're exposed to too much sun. But do you know what melanated people, dark-skinned people get when they don't get exposed to sun? Hypopigmentation, vitiligo. They lose their pigment. Really? Like Jada Pinkett Smith, she's turned white. Michael Jackson turned white. It's because they're not in their circadian appropriate environment. They're avoiding light. And when the melanocytes don't get the signal from the sun, what do? They have to be pulled into the body because what's fucking mind-blowing, excuse my French, is, have you ever seen melanated people? I've got a few friends. They're, East Indian, Pakistani. They're completely gray, right? Those people, they never get in the sun. They're diehard businessmen. Even though they have melanin, you can clearly see it, but they're never in the sun. Their body's pulling out melanin from their hair because your brain is priority in your body. Number one, every adaptation in human existence is all optimized for our intelligence, for our brain. And you have in your brain this stuff called neuromelanin. I thought melanin was just a pigment expressed on your skin and your eyes and your hair. Come to find out, there's a place in your brain called the substantia nigra. That place in your brain is full of neuromelanin. And that part of the brain will pull melanin out anywhere to keep that part of your brain melanated. Because when you find that that's missing, you have Parkinson's, dementia, all of these neurodegenerative diseases. Anytime you open their head, they've got no neuromelanin. They've got no substantia nigra. And that's another side effect of us avoiding the sun.
Yeah.
It's another side effect of just sitting for 50 years. My dad was in front of a screen. He would go to work. He'd come back. He'd look at the screen every day.
Right.
And he was a melanated dude. My dad's, got Arabic in his background, but sun was not his friend. I'm like, not your son. I'm in the sun, man.
Yeah.
I know where I come from, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, we live in Miami. We got to enjoy it.
You got to, man. And if it's a great pain reliever, right? Because of the beta endorphins.
Yeah.
It produces nitric oxide, so it lowers your blood pressure. There's so many effects. It produces melatonin, so you can sleep at night.
Right.
It produces dopamine, serotonin, every happy hormone you get from the sun. We're wired to be connected to the sun. I don't know why
there's some I don't know if it's a peptide or a drug or something, but there's something that bodybuilders take that makes their skin... Melanotan.
Yeah.
And it also, the side effect is it gives you huge boners.
Erections, yeah. That's another effect. You get erections from the sun.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a great side effect.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Exactly. Unless you're a guy like me who already has 5 kids.
Yeah, easy tiger.
Right.
No, you don't want any more.
Where's the eject button on this melanotan? But it's fascinating to me that we can live in a world where something like the sun is seen as, toxic. And I think that speaks to the larger kind of psychosis that our societies are under, where we think that wearing sunglasses when you're when you're outside is the appropriate thing to do, but not wearing blue blockers when you're exposed to artificial light all the time is like weird.
Yeah, like you're a weirdo.
Like I'm a weirdo.
Yeah.
Oh, you're one of those orange glasses guys. What are you, a biohacker? You're in that cult, right?
Right.
And I'm like, no, you guys are in the cult.
You're the
You're
cult.
wearing the sunglasses.
Right.
The Ray-Ban ads and Chanel ads are selling you the sunglasses. Of 30 people I saw at the beach, 27 of them had sunglasses on. And I'm like, man, you don't get it.
Yeah.
The sun is not toxic.
Right.
You're robbing yourself of the appropriate signal.
When do you think, where did we go wrong? Like, when do you think there was because there has to be, because again, it was probably when sunscreen was invented, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I truly believe, they're trying to kill us. That's my personal thought. So,
dude, I'm there with you.
I think anything that's truly healthy, they want to get rid of.
They do.
You know?
There's a family, you can look it up. They're called the Shackler family. The Shackler family worked with Purdue. They were the largest producers of opioids. You know what the Shackler family did before they got into opioids? Sunscreens. You know where sunscreens are in the drugstore? They're right next to the checkout where the pharmacy is. If you know what opioids do, they occupy the same opioid pathway that the beta endorphin acts on as a pain reliever from the sun. You know why every single artist like Kurt Cobain and Chester Bennington all died? Janis Joplin, they all died of heroin overdose. You want to know why? They were under blue light all the time. They were awake all night. They weren't awake to see the sun. They had a horrible relationship with light. They tried to modulate it with opioids, and they ended up dying of depression or overdose. There you go.
That's actually an interesting take, yeah.
It's all there in popular culture. It's laid out in front of us. But they would call me a conspiracy theory. But the Shackler family did get involved with opioids, and they were the largest producer of sunscreens. And they're right there when you walk in, and they're telling you, buy your sunglasses, wear your sunscreen.
Right. Every drugstore.
Every single
Almost
one.
Especially in Miami.
Dude, it's the biggest conspiracy.
Yeah.
I believe it's the biggest gag order on the fact that everything needs light. Everything needs light for optimal function.
Right.
Everything. And that's why this, all the science on photobiomodulation and like methylene blue and all those things are there, and that's in the medical literature. And because you can't make money off of light, of selling sunlight.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, everything is money. Like if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. That's
right.
A lot of people out there. So
that's right. We're offending the powers that be who rely on the model for drugs. And when I told you that, all of the clinical trials that are performed on all those lab creatures to produce all these pharmaceuticals are basically performed under blue light. And I just shared with you that POMC is the gene that allows all mammals to create glucose from stress. And you're not screening for lights when you do these experiments. You're taking creatures out of their natural habitat in a lab, you're controlling the lab setting, but you're using blue light.
Right.
It's like, how accurate is any of that? I don't think it's, I think it's just a solution for a problem that they created in a controlled setting, and we're in a controlled setting.
Right.
I think moving forward, transparency is a prerequisite for there to be a peaceful transition into any kind of future. If you're talking about CBDCs or the financial system, or you're talking about whatever system they were trying to create, smart cities or whatever it is, they're gonna have to be completely transparent.
Well, I think in my opinion, they made a big mistake with the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, I do too.
Because what they did was they really opened our eyes.
Yeah, they did.
To what they were trying to accomplish, and in my opinion, they failed at it. I think they got some people, but for the most part, people like ourselves, I don't know about you, but one thing that I immediately did when that happened was I've never read so much in my life. I was like, all right, something is off here. Something is not right. Shutting down our businesses, telling us not to go in the sun, locking us up, and don't do this, don't do that. Something's weird. Wear a mask, all this stuff. I was like, something's up. So I literally you can ask my wife. I mean, I had a glass of wine and the computer, and I was just reading literature after literature. Forget the daggone name of the website.
NIH, something like
the
that.
NIH, the CDC website. And what's fascinating to me is everything they were telling us that we weren't supposed to do, all of it was right in front of our faces if you're willing to read a 178-page, article or research paper, what have you. And it was all counter, like it was the opposite of what they were saying.
Contradiction,
It was a contradiction.
Yeah,
I was like, wait a minute. You have 70 years of research on this, like vitamin C. Like all of a sudden, they didn't want us to do high-dose vitamin C.
Right.
Like that's bad. Like all of a sudden, they didn't want us to take vitamin D. That was bad. But yet there's research that shows how great it is and how good it is for you. It was very bizarre, very bizarre.
The other thing that blew his mind is when we talked about the light, is there's over 1 billion biochemical reactions that happen every time you breathe in your body, and no biologist can explain what causes it. Well, there's a guy named Fritz Popp who created a machine called a photomultiplier that looked at every organic cell, whether it be plant or animal. It emits light. And what's responsible for what these biologists, cellular biologists look at? They can look at a cell, they can look how how mitosis happens, how it divides, and the sequence of life, and how organs are formed in that whole process.
Right.
But they can't see that there's an invisible switch called a biophoton, and that light is everywhere, and that's what triggers the cascade of observable cellular, phenomena that we call, life. It's all triggered by light. All of it, every single bit of it. And it's proven now. This guy's a physicist. His name is Fritz Popp. You can look him up. Yeah. He's in the literature. He proved it. No one wants to talk about it because the domain of light goes outside of their optics.
Right.
They can't talk about the optics. There's an invisible world that's made of light. Some people can see it. Some people can see auras. Some people see angels. Some people don't. But who is science to say that it's not plausible when it's absolutely plausible? Definitely. And it aligns with the laws of thermodynamics. It aligns with the laws of physics. Mm-hmm. And physics is the big daddy stuff, man. That's like the daddy
Have
of
you
science.
seen all this stuff? What's the actor's name that was in Hustle and Flow? Have you seen
talking about the DNA and the frequency resonance and stuff?
It's really fascinating.
Terrence Howard.
Yeah. I've been watching a lot of his stuff on YouTube. I had no idea he was as smart as he is. He's smart as a whip.
He's blowing people's minds.
Yeah, he's blowing people's minds.
And he's probably pissing a lot of people off.
Oh yeah, for sure.
No,
people don't like it when you disrupt the common.
Well, you see, every single medical model is based. So when Einstein said, this is what's fascinating. When Einstein said E equals MC², this whole podcast, it could just be about this. When I learned E equals MC², I was thinking, oh, well, this is just some abstract thing in space. It has no relevance to life. But light is here. And what happens when everything is made of light. Like, all of this is energy just waiting to be released. If you want to experience the release, let's build a bonfire, and everything here will light up. You can create fire with everything. Energy is released.
Right.
But what's beautiful about E equals MC² is energy is equal to mass. Energy is equal to mass times the speed of light squared. That whole speed of light squared thing, I was thinking, I don't get that. But how can energy be equal to mass? And then when I understood that when light touches your eyes, the frequency of light, the specific frequency of light, touches your eyes, it creates matter, mass, things with structure, molecules like dopamine, serotonin, melatonin. All of these things have carbon structures. They're all have molecular structures in chemistry. You can look them up. Those are the building blocks of what things are made of. It's created from light. So when I understood that energy is equal to mass and that light is through the photoelectric effect, which is another thing Einstein got a Nobel Prize for, your skin, heat isn't created. Heat is created because light is exciting electrons. That's how heat is made. So you put something out in the light, you have something dark, you have you could have, on a cold, freezing cold day, you could put a black car in a bright sun, it would get hot.
Right.
That's how that works. So there's something happening with light. There's something magical happening with light in every single one of us. And that's the story they don't want us to know. That's the energy source of all things. And do I believe that there is a concerted, coordinated effort to obscure the sunlight, for Bill Gates to block the sun, for us to not be light focused in our life so that it can attribute to greater yield from Big Pharma? Absolutely. It's not a conspiracy. Absolutely. Right. It's all engineered to create lower vitamin D levels. We got 1 billion people in the world that are low vitamin D. What does that mean? Higher incidence of hospitalization, higher incidence of getting sick.
Have you seen the cartoon WALL-E?
Yes. The robot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating?
Dude, we're living
That's
it.
exactly.
We're
That's
living
like we're living it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Matrix is a documentary.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So the rabbit hole with all this stuff, and in terms of training and all this stuff, I mean, I would encourage people to have good circadian habits, which just means, you wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. The best time to work out is between 12 and 5 o'clock. The best time for your central nervous system to lift heavy weight is around 4 or 5.
In the evening.
In the evening,
really?
The best time to go to sleep. Cortisol is highest in the morning. Cortisol and melatonin are on opposite sides of the spectrum. Cortisol wakes you up, gets you going in the morning, so it's important. But to have cortisol at night, which is why the phone is just completely disruptive, is carcinogenic. You want melatonin in the evening. That's usually secreted around 9 p.m. That oscillation of coupled systems, light and dark, male and female, cortisol and melatonin, testosterone and estrogen, all of those are coupled systems that allow everything to work.